Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. This will be episode 3 of my playthrough of Enemy Action Ardennes, playing the Allied solo. In the previous episode, we did the first Allied impulse by me, and also the first time I'd done a German impulse, and it took considerable amount of time. I'm not going to fib to you here. It was a bit of a brain ache, but we got it done. So in this episode, we're at least going to do the Allied second impulse and a German impulse, and maybe a bit further, depends how quickly, if I can get my head around the solo bot. It's interesting, don't get me wrong. It is interesting how it works. It's just figuring it all out and how it all fits together, and hopefully not making any silly faux pas. So, and if I do make any of those silly faux pas, please let me know in the comment, because that's the only way I'm going to really learn, is input from you guys who have played this game before. And it also helps anyone else who wants to learn this game to correct any errors I sort of make along the way. Now, this was gonna, so this is only, we're only doing turn 1. This is the first scenario that's in the book. Because I want to get this down so I can actually play the full Allied solo game as my commemoration to the 80th anniversary of, obviously, the Battle of the Bulge. I don't think I'll be starting the full game on the actual day. It'll be over the course of the period of December. But let's see how we go. Who knows, I might get brain burnout by then. It is a lot of rules to take in, but hopefully. And if you could do the likes, gives me encouragement, to keep going. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But let's go down to the map and let's see what's going on. So in the last episode, we had a German attack coming over here, taking out a disrupted Allied unit. I did forget to add on the German victory point because let's just have a look at the unit boxes. I've now taken 2 units eliminated. Every 2 Allied units eliminated is worth a victory point. So the Germans are currently at 2 victory points. As denoted on the calendar track here. If we can get the whole track in, there we go. So that's corrected. To win this particular scenario, they need 6, or they need to move 2 of these markers further than, so it has to move twice. It's in place and move twice. So yeah, not quite sure how that works. I'll assume if that happens, I've made a complete and utter balls up of this. So that's my biggest threat, though, is Second Panzer Army. I mean, they're only 5 hexes from Bastogne, and that's 5 VP straight in the bag. So as an additional thing in this scenario, any town, even that's not marked with a VP marker, such as, say, this one here, is worth a VP as well. So I've got to be very careful of that kind of situation. Now, I'm going to bring up my 4 cards I've got to play. And that's not that. Click the wrong button. Also, I can get myself familiar with the actual vassal model. Allied hand is what we're looking for. Let's bring that up. My hand size at the present moment in this scenario is 4. And those are the 4 cards I've got to play with. Now, I can't play the 5th core card because I can't activate one from the 5th core because I played that in my last impulse. So I can't activate any of those units. So we're down to 3 cards to play. Now, of those 3 cards, I'm leaning towards this one. And mainly because of that option there, deploy all core reserves. So let me explain why. Please, let's close that down. In the unit box, I have got 2 units from the 9th Armour. And the 8th core deployment area is, if we look here, see this yellow band across the side of the board here, is directly, that's what this dotted line here does, and does here. This blue dotted line denotes core deployment areas, and 8th Corps is in that area. I think I need some troops in that area. Now, so I looked up, and it says about deploying core reserves, they've got to start initially within 3 hexes. They've got to be in the core area. All right. So again, looking at the map, the core area goes all the way down to the southern map edge. And ideally, well, I use the word ideally, there are restrictions. So we have the standard Allied reserve deployment within the unit's core area. Okay, so that I can do. Tick. In a road hex, that's a valid Allied supply. So tick. I can't just bring them in the middle of the country. At least 3 hexes away from a German unit or German town or city. Okay, yeah, and not in or adjacent to a hex occupied by a German detachment marker. All right, so those are the general restrictions. And then it says within these restrictions, place a unit within 3 hexes of a unit in the same division already on the map. So at 9th Armoured, there is a unit on the map, so I have to deploy them 3 hexes away from that German unit there. So I thought, oh, it's not really helping the situation, is it? Deploying units down here is not getting them around here. However, reading on, and that's what's really important with these rules. Don't just read the first part and then go, yeah, okay. Allied strategic reserve deployment, because this is where I was like looking at those 2 counters. Okay, they've got the little 16 there, and they got a little S. These guys just got 16. And I thought, well, what does the S mean? And that's where you read further. So, Allied Strategic Reserve Deployment, an Allied reserve unit with a printed entry dated marked with an S, yay, or those whose printed entry date is earlier than the current date, no, that one doesn't apply, is considered an Allied Strategic Reserve. So those 2 units are Allied Strategic Reserves. Okay, what does that mean? Such a unit may be deployed by the standard method described above, okay, or, and it's always that critical, or, may alternatively be placed in any valid friendly supply head road hex in the unit's core boundary and at least 5 hexes away from all German units and enemy towns and cities. This distance may be reduced to 2 hexes if placing a unit in a map edge hex. Well, I don't want to place it in the map edge, but at least 5 hexes away. So I was like, how far is Bastogne away? From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could place at least one of the units in Bastogne. That's what we'll do. We will play that card. Allied command. No, I don't want that one. I don't want that button. I want the allied hand. Allied hand. So we will play the 8th Corps card. Put it on the map there. Boom. So that's that done. And I will bring those 2 reserve units into the game. Now, can they be where can they be? One is definitely going into Bastogne, that's without a doubt. Okay, that's 5 hexes away from 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's better double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's 5 hexes away from any German unit. Where can the other unit be placed? Well, any units of the same division must be brought in the same hex within stacking limits. So there we go. That is the entirety, or is it, of my second impulse? Because it's still this core. Can I remove some dispersal from other units of 8th Corps? Let me check. The answer to that question is no, unfortunately not. If I had activated the core, as in the units of the core, then, as in removing this guy, and this guy, then yes, I could have removed the dispersal on that guy. I say dispersal. Is it dispersal or disrupted? Oh dear, oh dear. Dispersed. Yeah, different games use different terms, don't they? So I want to make sure I get the right term right. So yeah, disperse. Recovering the dispersed unit, I can't do. So the play of that card is done. I can't do anything more with it. So remove that. That goes now sent to play card, place in the discard stack. And then I need to draw another card because my hand size is 4. So this is the display. So that's the card I've just discarded. There's my allied draw cards 2. So I need to draw one of these. How do I... Why is it going bing? Ah, click the number of cards required. 1. Okay. That goes into there. Same cards to display. Then we go to allied. Yeah, it's a little bit fiddly on that particular part. I don't know why I couldn't just draw it, but there we go. They've automated it. That comes there. X11, so it's 12 core. Okay, 4th Infantry Division card number 23. The reason why I'm really good is I also do like to have the cards in my hand. It just seems easier to work out what I actually might want to do rather than just look at the display. I mean, ideally, guys, I'll be playing this on a map sheet with the real counters and so forth. But I don't have a table to do so, which allows me to do. But I have got the game, and I can go through the cards. And I do like to feel some actual bits too. I mean, that's why we purchase these things, isn't it? Okay, so that's the Allied Impulse done. I'll close that down, and then we go over to the Germans. Okay, we now got to draw 2 cards for the Germans. We'll place them into this box here, and then we determine which is the primary command card and which is the support card. So neither of them are marked with the word primary, so the next thing we look at is the command value. So that's got command value 2. We've got command value of 1. So the 2 says the higher value goes in there, and that goes in there. That's the support card. So on this card at present, we're just looking at that unless something doesn't activate properly on this card here. Okay, so the sequence I've got to go through when regarding these 2 cards, which I've now removed. Let's bring that back up. Okay, so we know it's this card, so this is one we're activating on because it's got the higher command value. But I also have to check this card at this moment to see if it's got a command event on it. So I spent a bit of time, what is a command event? And I thought, is that one? And it's just, no, that's a special event because it's got the word special and it's also out of date. It's the 19th. We're only on the 16th, so no. So there's no command events on there because there's a list of command events on a separate piece of card. And then it says, next thing is conduct the first applicable command in the order listed on the selected command card. So on this command card, we have got see, it's got a little G on there. We can't use that because we're playing the ally solo. So anything with a G is not available in this game. So we're looking at that one. Sign replacements. That starts on the 20th. We're on the 16th, so it's not applicable either. Next one, activate all units in the core. We can do that. So let's do that particular instruction, and that is these units down here. LXXX core. So all of those now become active. Let's zoom in on that particular section of the front, and then we'll go through the actual sequence. Zoom in any further. Is all that bit overkill? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can do a bit of Motorhead on that, can't we? Do you get the reference? Okay, so we're activating those 4 units. And then we've got to go through the sequence of German activation sequence. There we go. First of all, remove roadblocks. There are no roadblocks currently on the board, or currently in that section, definitely. This is relocate army objective marker if required. Well, we haven't placed an army objective marker for the 7th Army as yet, so that will be the first stage we will do. So it says army objective marker. If a German unit is proximate, i.e. close to or within 2 hexes of the active formation's army objective marker, or that marker is not yet on the map, consult the table. Roll 1 die to see where the objective marker is placed. So we're looking at the 7th Army. On a 1 to 6, it's placed in Ettelbruck. On a 7 to 9, it's placed in Mersch. And on a 10, it's placed in Wiltz. So let's see what we get. It's a 2, is placed in Ettelbruck, which is high. Now let's use that word proximate. So a unit is proximate to a target hex or a unit if it has sufficient movement points to reach the target in one move. So proximate to a hex, a unit is proximate to an empty or friendly occupied hex if it has sufficient movement points to move to and enter the hex, or proximate to an enemy unit, roadblock, or detachment. A unit is proximate to any of these counters if it is adjacent to the counter and has sufficient movement points to move to end and enter the hex. So in this case, proximate to that marker now, it's a friendly marker to the Germans, so they've got to be able to move into it in their movement. So they're not proximate to this at the present moment. But if these Germans here start moving closer and say end up in Dietrich here or within 2 hexes of it, then that counter potentially will move, and I'd have to check again. So that's the meaning of the word proximate. Now, in episode 2, where I went through the previous movement, I went through what about the different movement methods and such. I'm not going to go into that kind of detail again. If you didn't see that episode, I advise to look at it, and I'll go through the different movement methods. What I'm going to do now is determine which movement method these 4 German units are going to use, and then move them accordingly. So the first thing I'm going to do is scratch my head off camera to work out what these 4 units are going to do. So there are 13 movement methods. For the first 1 to 9, I check all eligible units for one particular method. And then from 10 to 13, I check each individually for method 10, method 11, method 12, and such forth. So I'll be checking methods 1 to 9 for these 4 units first, and then see what actually happens then. Okay, so I'm working my way through the methods. We're on to method 5, and one of the units can use that method. So that is move adjacent to an allied VP hex unit. Okay, this is an allied VP hex in this particular game because every town is worth 1 VP. And as that's the case, this unit here can move adjacent to an allied VP hex. So it can move across the river. That uses up all of its movement potential to do so. Well, I've gone through all of the movement methods for all the other 3 units of that court. They're not moving. They're still got to follow the normal rules. This unit can't move to there because it's moved from a zone of control to a zone of control. I thought it might be able to move there, but there's nothing that allows it to do so. Because it's moving away from its army objective marker was one of the restrictions. So I thought that might have applied, but it doesn't. So they stay as they are. Okay, so that's that step. Then conduct attacks with units meeting attack requirements. So last time I went through, there's a whole procedure. You go through the amount of attack points to see if they actually do an attack. And that's what we're going to do now. So it says check multi-step units in ascending order for eligibility to be the lead unit in an attack against an adjacent enemy occupied hex, the target hex. So there's 2 of these situations. There's one here, and that unit would be the lead unit because it's the lowest in ascending order. And there's also this unit here, where that's adjacent to. Now, I don't think that'll happen, but you never know. Okay, so calculate the situational strength of the opposing units by totaling the strength of all active German units adjacent to the target hex. So we'll be starting with this one here. Okay, so we've got a strength of 5. This was attacking across the river, so it's only +1, so that's 6. And that's already across the river, 7, 8. So it's 8 to 3, which is 2 to 1. 2 threes, yeah, 2 to 1. And all right. Include active. No. In the supporting card shows assault coordination. Right. Does the other card show assault coordination? It doesn't. It shows combat engineers, so that doesn't add. Halve the total strength of all German units. That would be attacked across the river. We've already done that. Double the strength of Allied units defending in a city hex. Now that looks to me like a town, but let's remove that. Now, is that a city or is that a town? I'm not sure. I think the cities are the ones in capitals, but I better just double check. Okay, so I have read these rules twice. I've gone through the actual chart and I just double checked the rules again, and I've now found what is a city. Okay. So third time looking through the rules. Well, second time reading the rules, still didn't trigger it. That town, sorry, Echterdach is a town. A city hex has a purple border around it. So even Bastogne is not a city. It's a town, wherever Bastogne is. Where there it is. That is not a city. No, it's only when it's got the purple border around it is it a city. So there's not that many cities on the map. So let's bring back the counters. All right, I'm going through what we were talking there. Okay, so we've got no other adjustments, so we're currently still at 2 to 1. And then it says add or subtract the one to the defender's strength. +1 for forest. No. An improved position. No. Adjacent to a supplied allied unit. He's not adjacent to another allied unit. Is it cleared terrain? No. Unsupplied or dispersed? No. So there's no other modifier. So it's 2 to 1 at the present moment. So it says once calculated, compare the situational strengths as an attacker-defender ratio to determine if the attack occurs. So this is what we're doing. Will this attack go in? So it's got little bullet points. Attack it if equal to or greater than 4 to 1, or if all defending units isolated. So that would go, it's not 4 to 1, so no. Cancel the attack if less than 3 to 1 and all attacking units are in low supply. Again, that doesn't apply. And it says cancel the attack if equal to less than 1 to 1. That doesn't apply. So and then it says if 1 to 1, sorry, if equal to or greater than 1 to 1 and less than 4 to 1, roll the die. So I'm looking at the die and adding the applicable modifiers. Of course, there's always modifiers. To determine if the attack is cancelled according to the table. So I'm going to roll a die. And then we're going to actually check the modifiers. So 16th of December, you subtract 1. Low is good for this. So subtracting 1, the Germans are keen to go in. Attackers include elite units. There are no elite units. Elite units is the red dots for the mountain steps. There are no elite units there. Okay. Attackers activated by an army or army group card. It's a core card, so no. And supporting cards show applicable combat tactics. It shows combat engineers, which it does. So I would say that's another minus. So net -2. Right. Okay, so let's see if this attack goes in. Low is good, remember? So 6 taken by 2 is 4. It says cancel attack if less than 2 to 1 or only defending armor. Attack is not cancelled because it is more, it's 2 to 1 or more. So if the attack had been at 1.5 to 1, it wouldn't have gone in. It is going in. So we have an attack. Now I've got to draw another card to see if it will assist in this attack. Okay, so this is the card and it says infantry infiltration. And it's different from the combat engineers. So this card will also apply. And it says draw one German card and apply its combat tactic to the combat. Then, if the combat tactic on the German support card differs from the drawn combat tactic and would benefit the German attack, apply its bonus as well. Okay. So we're looking at combat infiltration. Okay. Infantry infiltration. All right. Attacker on it. If the defender is in a non-town or city hex, the defender is considered flanked regardless of the number of hexes from which the defender is being attacked. Furthermore, the attack is not considered a one-hex attack, even if all attacking units are in one hex, and even if the defender is in a town or city hex. So it's not it's not a single attack hex anyway, because it's been attacked on 3 hexes. So the actual card drawn doesn't help. Okay, I was checking to see if this card here goes back into the draw pile, because the combat effect has no effect, because it is a town city hex. Apparently it doesn't. So that goes in the discard pile. It hasn't assisted. But now this combat engineers does have an effect. The effect of combat engineers says add 1 to the attacker's combat strength. In addition, remove any IP marker that isn't one. The defender may not play combat tactics to build an IP in this combat. So, all right. So what does it adds 1 to their attack strength overall? It's not 1 per unit. It's overall. So again, we're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9. So the odds have shifted through the because of the combat engineers to 3 to 1, not 2 to 1 anymore. I am then allowed to play any combat tactic cards, but considering all the combat tactics I seem to have is engineers, which allows me to place an IP marker if it wasn't a town, not much help there. I do have an option to reinforce the battle, but and the unit I could reinforce was that one there, because it says reinforce the battle. Select one active or inactive stack that did not move or attack in the current activation that could reach the combat in a single movement action to participate in the combat. The unit stack moves into the hex with the defending units. So he could get there because he could go along the road into there for 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, he can't get there. 5. Could he go through this hex here? Well, I'm not going to do it anyway. Yeah, broken woods for armor is 3. So I'm not going to do it anyway because that would create another massive gap in the line. So, if there had been a unit here, then yes, I could have played that reinforced battle. But there isn't. So it stays as it is, 3 to 1 odds after combat tactics. Then we draw combat chits. So we need to determine how many chits to draw. Now, the minimum is the amount of steps in my unit, which is 2, and then there is a maximum. So as I said, the minimum is the number of steps. There's a minimum of 2, and the Germans always draw to the maximum. So the maximum equals the number of attacking units, which is 3, plus 1 for each combat tactic played by the attacker. Notice this is word played. It did. So I'm going to say the ones that actually work. So it's +1. So it's +1. So it's 4. For each attacking unit with 3 or 4 steps, there's 1. That's 5. If the defender's out of supply, he isn't. Defender isolated, he isn't. If defender played the screen combat tactic, he didn't. So the Germans will be drawing 5 chits. Always draw the maximum number of chits for the German. Every combat tactic in a German attack has +1 combat chit draw, even if the tactic is identical. It doesn't say if not used. Because that flank attack was drawn. It's not benefiting them, but it is different. So I'm actually going to give that. I'm going to give that. If that's incorrect, let me know in the comments. So we're looking at 6 draws for the Germans. So let's bring up the chit draws. Now these chits were drawn last time, so they're not available. We're just drawing from here. Okay, and I'm going to check both sides. There was no artillery, attacker artillery, so that does not apply. Second chit draw. Broken or clear? No, it's a town. City or forest? That doesn't apply either. Odds are greater than 7 to 1? No. Flank attack? No, because of the town. So again, I know they played the combat card, but it doesn't apply. That's 3 chits then. None applying so far. Attacker artillery? Defender artillery? Interesting. Fourth chit, fifth chit. Right, notice that's a different colour. Okay, so that means that all these chits will go back in. I'm not sure if they all go back in now or until the end of the combat. Allied air power didn't apply. And 5th Panzer Army or Allied attack didn't apply. Let me check. I mean, that's the 5th chit. Do they all get shuffled in now or when? This is always a little bit confusing. Okay. First of all, checking in the chit rules. Again, I've read these rules twice. I'd missed that it's all the terrain in the hex. So going back over that, that is actually a broken terrain hex and a town hex. So going back over that one, we know the artillery definitely doesn't count, but that one says broken or clear, city or forest. So that one does count. That one definitely doesn't count. A flank attack or flip it, so odds equal to or greater than such one. So those 3 don't count. Neither this one, because it's not a 5th Panzer Army, it's the 7th Army, or Allied attack. It's not an Allied attack, and if we flip that, what did I do there? You want to delete it. Or if you flip it, it was Allied air power. None of those applied. Okay, now that we're going back over the reason why I checked that because of the blue chit, what that means is all these chits from previous combats, they go back, return to the coffee cup. These ones stay out. I say the coffee cup, the cup. Okay, and they all can stay aside until the next blue chit is drawn. So at the moment we've drawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chits. And there are 6 that we can draw. So this is the last chit. Only attacker combined arms or only defender combined arms. Combined arms, I assume, means with armor. Double check that. Combined arms. Applies if only one side has both armor plus infantry or mechanized infantry types. So no, that doesn't apply. That goes there. Well, that was a pretty shit attack, wasn't it? You know, they got really no rub of the green there for the Germans, which just suits me fine. All right, we'll stick those there. So the only one that applies is an A1D1, and the D1, it means being the Allies, I could ignore 1 hit if in the town. Hit adjustments. If defending units occupy a town, city, or improve position, the defender ignores 1 hit. So I ignore that hit. The first attacking hit, that A1, must be fulfilled, and it's got to come from that big 4-step unit there. So that is decreased a step. Now, in actual fact, woohoo! That was a good defense or a rubbish attack. Now, looking at this to that, that's 1 to 3. That's an automatically not going to occur attack. So there's no advances, no retreats. So that's that combat phase completed. Okay, so that card is now completed. So I'll move that to the, or should I discard? No, just put that to the discards. And this card, Combat Engineers, was used, so that's discarded. So that concludes the German Impulse. Yeah, that attack didn't go too well for them, did it? Yeah. Could have done. That could have forced me back. Saved a VP. So, phew, this time. Anyway, I'm going to bring this back up to the top and have a little chat and then see what happens then. I don't know why I said what's going to happen then. The video will end. Um, okay, so we did one Allied impulse, bringing two reinforcements on, and we did one little German impulse with attack. Not much happening, but it's the learning process for me. Once I actually do complete this learning scenario, hopefully, it'll play a lot quicker when I actually come to play the actual game, and we'll do more than one impulse. But this spent a bit of time going through the sequences, going through what decisions that the AI is making and I'm making and why I'm making them. Um, it might have been better for the viewers if that attack had been more successful, more allied losses have been inflicted, victory point gain and such forth. But from a gaming perspective, I'm quite happy about that result. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's helpful. And any of you experts in the game who can say, yeah, you shouldn't have done that, or that was a bad mistake, or even if it's not a rule-wise thing, it's tactical, should I have chosen those two reinforcements? Should I have actually tried to move some units? My options are limited by obviously the cards, but then again, so is the Germans. So yeah. What is surprising me with the sequencing is I thought the Germans had 14 cards that they would get because they're playing two cards per time. And when you're reading the rules, you sort of get the feeling that they're going to get 7 impulses. And considering I've only got 7 cards and I can only play one card per turn, and I knew I was going to have to take combat cards, I thought I was only going to get maybe 5 impulses. So that doesn't seem to be happening now because they're playing combat cards and they get discarded. So yeah, I think there are some combat cards that it says that they can be reshuffled back in, but I haven't seen one of those as yet. So it's less impulses than I thought that I might have to survive. Um, that's it really. So I hope you enjoyed it, as I said already. If you did, hit the like button. If you didn't, tell me why, and then I can obviously try and improve on that. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you do enjoy what I do, please do so. It all helps. And any comments, as I say, positive, negative, all helps as well. Until next time, guys, play games, have fun. Bye, Internet.